In this video, I'm going to share 5 simple tips for exploring the mystery of your own consciousness. It's really fascinating to notice that even though we are all conscious, no one truly knows what consciousness is. I mean, the nature of consciousness is something that's been debated for thousands of years by scientists, philosophers, and theologians, and even to this day, the nature of consciousness is arguably the greatest mystery facing modern science. It's called the hard problem of consciousness. In other words, we are a mystery to ourselves. We are a mystery to ourselves. Now, at the same time, if there's one core teaching that's found in all of the world's spiritual traditions and wisdom teachings, it's that self-knowledge, self-awareness, self-exploration is the key to healing, awakening, and unlocking our fullest potential. Through learning more about the mystery of self, we learn more about the nature of reality. And so I'm going to invite you to travel inwardly with me today through some simple thought experiments that reveal just how deep the mystery of self really goes. What's up, my friends? Welcome back to Cosmic Consciousness. My name is Jonas, and I'm on a mission here to explore mysteries that open our minds and wisdom that opens our hearts. Please like this video and subscribe to support this conscious community. Now, here's the basic premise of this video, is that there is so much more to consciousness. There's so much more to what we are than we're ordinarily aware of. And not only does this uncover new insights into the nature of reality, in a very practical sense, this is the key to healing wounds in the shadow, in the unconscious mind. This is the key to increasing our spiritual awareness and ultimately to self-actualization, to realizing our fullest potential here as human beings. So let's dive right in. The first tip is to start with where you are. In order to truly explore our consciousness, we must start with where we are. Where else could we explore consciousness other than this present moment? And this is ancient spiritual wisdom as well, right? All of the world's spiritual traditions tell us that the present moment is the doorway. It is the only doorway for spiritual growth and evolution. It requires bringing our attention, our awareness out of the chaos of our everyday lives and just back to this moment as it is. And here is a simple thought experiment or consciousness experiment to illustrate this quality of coming back. Right now in this moment, I want to invite you to become aware of the space between your ears. Behind your face, in this area here, what do you find in your experience? It's like there is this opening, this clear space, this space of awareness, aliveness, and all of the experience of life out there happens in here, within what we are, right? So in this way, we're moving deeper inwards into this present moment and just allowing our awareness to naturally expand as it is. This is where the exploration begins. The second tip is to direct your attention inwardly. Now this seems super obvious and intuitive, but it's still worth putting this into words because, I mean, for most of our daily lives, our attention is constantly occupied with the outer world. To really explore the depths of our being, we need to reorient our attention inwardly. Here's another thought experiment to just illustrate this point. We can imagine our attention as like the beam of a flashlight, right? And most of the time the flashlight is shining outwardly into the outer world. But what happens if you turn that flashlight around and shine the light of your attention inwardly? Notice how you can move your attention around. If I asked you right now to become aware of the sensations in your left big toe, you could do that, right? You can move your awareness down to your left big toe and just feel those sensations there. Now, this is a really powerful exercise for expanding our self-awareness. It's called a body scan or just somatic awareness, moving our attention through the body, feeling this inner energy field, feeling the life force within us, right? And just becoming aware of our awareness. And ultimately, as we're going deeper into just being aware of awareness, this is about shining that light of attention towards the place where attention is coming from. The third tip is to explore the unconscious mind. Again, a deeper exploration of consciousness isn't truly possible until we recognize that most of what we are is unconscious. It's outside of the conscious mind. It's like the metaphor of the mind as an iceberg, where only the tiniest tip of the iceberg is above the surface. Most of it is below the surface of the water and outside of the conscious mind. Here's a simple thought experiment to illustrate that point. I want to invite you to take a moment to bring to your mind's eye your childhood home, the place where you grew up. Just recall, if you can, any memories about the place where you grew up, any feelings that are associated with that. Now, what's really interesting is that just a minute ago, all of those, early childhood memories of your childhood home were within you somewhere, but they weren't in your conscious mind, right? They were in the unconscious mind. And so this just illustrates how we all have this vast reservoir, like an ocean of thoughts, memories, feelings, experiences that go all the way back to our earliest childhood, and arguably even before then, right? Now, what's interesting as well is that so many of our behaviors, our beliefs, our mental illnesses, depression and anxiety and trauma, OCD, are very often tied to these parts of the psyche or the mind that are in our unconscious, right? So by increasing our self-awareness of the unconscious, the natural consequence of that is healing and spiritual evolution, right? This is also known as shadow work, as Carl Jung described it. The fourth tip to exploring your consciousness is to find the space between your thoughts, transcending the thinking mind. This is differentiating between the thinking mind and consciousness itself, the space of pure awareness. All of the thoughts and thinking mind are happening within consciousness, but even when there is no thinking, we're still conscious, right? So in order to really explore consciousness in a deeper way, it's not just an intellectual exercise. It's not just about thinking, it's about feeling. It's about sensing. Now, Eckhart Tolle said that consciousness is an infinite ocean and thoughts are like ripples on the surface. We do spend a lot of time on the surface, right? But in order to explore consciousness in a deeper way, we need to go beneath the surface of the thinking mind into the space between our thoughts. Right now, can you sense the consciousness within you? The aliveness, the life force within you? Can you just feel and sense that inner energy field within you? This is getting more intimate with consciousness itself, becoming aware of awareness. Now, here's another thought experiment for you, or a metaphor for you, to explore this inner space. It's kind of like a room that's filled with furniture, right? In a room you have furniture, you have things on the wall, but none of the room is possible without the space of the room. It's the same with consciousness. It's like all of our thoughts, our perceptions, our feelings, our emotions are only possible within this space of consciousness. So in order to explore this mystery, it's really about exploring the space, and in order to do that, we have to set aside the thinking mind, right? And go deeper into inner stillness, inner silence. The famous Indian mystic Nisargadatta once said, "As you watch your mind, you discover yourself as the watcher. When you stand motionless, relaxed, only watching, you discover yourself as the light behind the watcher." The fifth tip is to explore non-ordinary states of consciousness. Non-ordinary states of consciousness are a treasure trove of information, new insights about the nature of consciousness and the mystery of self. Through exploring non-ordinary states, you are guaranteed to open your mind and expand your understanding of the mystery of consciousness. Religious scholar William James once said, "Our normal waking consciousness is but one special type of consciousness. Whilst all about it, parted from it by the filmiest of screens, there lie potential forms of consciousness entirely different." Now, I'm certainly not suggesting that everyone should go out and try psychedelic substances. Every single night we experience non-ordinary states when we dream, and this can reveal a lot about the subconscious or the unconscious mind. There are many different ways of exploring non-ordinary states of consciousness, right? Like attending a meditation retreat or a yoga retreat is a good way. There are all these different breathwork practices, such as holotropic breathing that was developed by Stanislav Grof, which just through breathing can induce these really powerful altered states of consciousness. There are other techniques such as a flotation or sensory deprivation tank that can induce these really cool psychedelic type experiences. But, you know, shamans all over the world and all throughout time have developed these elaborate systems for tapping into non-ordinary states of consciousness because they recognize how important these states are. So again, shamans have developed all these different methodologies, from shamanic drumming to dancing, meditation, chanting, fasting. So there is a lot to explore here, a lot to explore. And coming back to psychedelics, I absolutely do believe that if these psychedelic plant medicines are used in a way that's safe and responsible in a supportive context, these are incredibly powerful tools for increasing our self-awareness. It's like a telescope or a microscope to our inner world. Just as we use a telescope to peer more deeply into space, psychedelic plant medicines can be used to peer more deeply into our inner world. The doors of perception begin to open. We get these expanded states of awareness, a bird's eye view of the nature of self, the nature of reality, and we can begin to sense that the consciousness within us is part of a much greater reality beyond this one physical body. Right? These mystical states of consciousness where we feel our own consciousness to be interconnected with the infinite cosmos, to be one with the ultimate source of all of life itself. And in this way, this is how we begin to expand our view of consciousness beyond a personal view to a transpersonal view, where we recognize that the consciousness within us, again, is much greater than this one human lifetime, than this one human identity. So through these simple explorations of the nature of consciousness, I believe that we're gaining new insights into the nature of self and therefore the nature of reality. So this is huge, right? But it's also very practical. I mean, through these exercises of just going inwardly, we begin to contact an inner stillness, a sense of peace and calm. It's like the eye in the center of the storm, right? Outside, things are swirling in the world right now. But within us, there is a space of pure consciousness, which is the ultimate source of that inner peace and that true sense of contentment. So this inner exploration of consciousness, I believe this nourishes our being on every level, our heart, mind, and soul. This is how we decrease stress and anxiety in our life, and how we tap into higher states of consciousness. And ultimately, where I think this leads us is to these transpersonal or cosmic states of consciousness, where we recognize that consciousness is a mystery way beyond this physical lifetime. It's much greater than this one physical lifetime. And this opens up entirely new worlds of possibility and exploration. The whole game changes up from that point. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Really appreciate every single one of you. If you enjoyed this video, please visit me on Patreon, where you can support me in making videos just like this one. Thank you all so very much, and I'll see you back here very soon. Peace.